Today, we live in an era of customer service. Customer is the king. Every organization, corporate, government, or non-government, consider customer as the pivot of all their operations. Today, as part of Leadership series by Global TV, we are very happy to bring one such person who is known as Guru of Customer Relationship Management, Dr. Mohan Lal Agarwal. Dr. Agarwal, welcome to our discussion on Leadership series.
Thank you very much, sir.
Dr. Agarwal is currently the chairman of INDO-GULF Management Association. We would be more focusing on the leadership part of it. I'm sure leaders are the cause of good customer service. If the leader doesn't take it into heart, the organization doesn't follow. I just had a couple of questions which are probably more personal, related to your personality and your, leadership style.
Yes.
One is, some leaders show leadership quality from a very early age in life, like maybe in the school and in colleges. Some leaders show it much later and evolve over a period of time. What has been your experience? Have you been a leader from early childhood, school days, college days, or you built it up as you grew in the organizations?
Thank you, Tom. That's a very loaded question for me, because it will be difficult for me to say whether I have been a leader or not, or at any point of my life, whether it is early stage or now or maybe later. But I do say this, that I have been a person who took initiatives. And in that particular initiatives, I also failed many times, but I never stopped taking initiatives and never stopped taking risks, even of the consequences of the bad initiatives, because as you know, each initiative which is successful has several fathers, but any initiative which failed has only a mom to talk about, but no father at any point of time. So as a result, I also believe that leadership is about initiatives, leadership about taking consequences, as well as probably the entire learning out of it for that particular initiative that a person has done. From that point of view, I have been taking initiatives right from my childhood. My father, who was I would say, middle class businessman, I wouldn't even call a businessman, but he was mostly like a store owner, cloth store owner in a very historically very well-known place in India called Jhansi, UP. So we were in Jhansi, UP, and I used to help my father, observe him, learn from him, and see that how he used to deal with the customers, with the outsiders. He wasn't very highly educated, maybe standard 1 or standard 2. He could hardly sign his thing, but he could write without, in his own way. So I think I learned from him that taking initiative is not a function of education. Taking initiative is not a function of being rich. Taking initiative is not being in the seat of power. It only means that what is your mission in life. And that is what I thought, that if my mission is to serve myself, to serve my fellow men, to serve the society I live in that case, I need to take initiatives and must also accept both good and bad consequences with the same humility, with the same experience that one should have. That is what I did. And that continued throughout my period, because just one more example, that when I went to study at Allahabad University, before that I did all my schooling in Hindi, in high school in Hindi, intermediate in Hindi. But even at the University of Allahabad, where fortunately I topped in both my graduation and master program, I took English as a medium of instruction. And believe me, I could not understand for almost a month what my professors were saying. But still within 2 or 3 months, I took participation into a debate, university debate in English. And I was very happy that I was placed number 1. on that
Excellent.
particular debate. So if that is the case, if that is the index of anybody's leadership, then I would say probably I did learn, I did experience, I did a lot of initiatives, whether asked or unasked. That is what I would say.
So taking initiative is a skill which is essential for a leader, and you showed it from an early age in your childhood. I mean,
I would say
that
to
is
some
the
extent,
conclusion
thanks,
which
yeah.
I am drawing from this. Did your leadership have any influence from any particular person in your life?
Again, it will be a little bit difficult for me to say that who was influenced from me, but I do have both oral as well as written letters of appreciation, both from India, in the UAE and in USA, where my learners, students, co-faculty, they told me that they had a life-changing experience with me. That is what they told me. Now, if that is again an indication of my influence, probably I'm guilty of that. And to that extent, I will take the blame that, yes, I did some kind of thing for them. But to my knowledge, I think whosoever is with me, whether it is 30 years or 40 years, they have never forgotten me. My name itself is good enough for them to remember each and everything. Like, for instance, there are now many CEOs in India who were my direct students. And just one name, MLA, which is Mohan Lal Agarwal, MLA, is enough for them to remember each and everything, whether they are chief of Vodafone, or whether they are chief of Hindustan Unilever, or whether they are chief of Microsoft or Twitter, any of them. They will definitely remember that so I was very hard to forget teacher. That is something which I would like to say. The same goes with my training also, that wherever I trained, people remembered my corporate training programs for decades, not just years or not just months, but decades. So from that point of view, I think I did have a little bit of imprint on them. But whether that imprint amounted to influence, I do not know. But I would definitely say I received very good feedback.
Excellent. I've heard this MLA from someone else recently. When I was talking to him about you, he said, yes, we will never forget Dr. Mohan, because he was known in the campus as MLA.
As MLA, correct. Yes, yes.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Now, any particular incident you think has had a life-changing experience for you in your leadership journey?
Yes, there were some, and those I would always remember with gratitude, right? For instance, those people definitely changed the course of my life. One person was, when he came to meet me, he was a very senior professor at that time, my teacher's teacher. So he told me certain things which I never forgot in my life. For instance, he said, he's no more now. He said that, Mohan, you are changing you are adopting a profession which is of momentary pride and permanent penury. This is the word he used, poverty, penury. He used the word. I was very struck by what he said. And I said, I hope that these two things change, that what is permanent becomes temporary, and what becomes temporary also becomes permanent, that at least the ratio. And that is what I tried to do, that I tried to leave a little bit of so that was change number one. Change number two, which in my life happened when I was in Amritsar, during the time of that Punjab agitation, and Bhindranwale was there, and India was reeling under the terrorism at that particular time. And I was there at that time in Amritsar, in the university, Guru Nanak Dev University. I think that particular thing changed me a lot, because then I went to Reserve Bank of India, Mumbai, where I had the good fortune of working under the leadership of Dr. C. Ranganathan, who was the deputy governor at that time, and Dr. Manmohan Singh, who was the governor of Reserve Bank at that time. These two people, though they wouldn't know me directly because I was several rungs below them, but they did read some of the things that I wrote at that time. And that made a difference to me. And that made me that, think that, I must get back to education rather than in the corporate life, because
Okay.
that is where my voice will be heard better than when being in the system. Because in the system, my voice will be subject to restriction 1, 2, 3, 4, clearance 1, 2, 3, 4. But as a
Right.
professor, I wouldn't need any clearance, any approval from anyone to share. So I joined Accelerate. I think probably my life has been turned into a different direction only by Jesuits fathers and the Accelerate. I would never
Okay.
forget my debt of gratitude to this organization, which made me largely what I am.
Excellent. So I think you had the opportunity to influence many leaders rather than being in the corporate and taking care of only one corporate. Probably your influence on many corporates are happening now, and it will continue to happen.
That's what I thought, and that's what
Yeah.
happened also, actually, because in the profession which I'm in this
Right.
profession, you only are limited by your thoughts, not by
Right.
the bureaucracy, not by the hierarchy, not by, because there is ample scope for anyone to shine, rise and
Right.
shine without hurting the feelings of anyone, or without stamping the feet of anyone, because this is an open field of academic excellence.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it doesn't matter that 10 people are working from the same institution at the same time. All 10 of them have equal right, equal opportunities, and equal freedom to rise to the level of excellence or lack, whatever they have to that particular point. So I
Right.
don't think I could have received a better blessing from God than this profession of teaching. I think this is the blessing to me by the God.